Hello, how have you been in this week after Easter? Is your life going well? I hope and pray so. So is there any change after Easter? What kind of change do you have after you experience the resurrection of Jesus through Easter Sunday? So today, let me share my thoughts and reflection on chapter 6 of Joshua. The Israelites had been working to conquer the city Jericho so far. So they were spying out and they were moving forward. They were crossing the Jordan River and they were almost there in the city of Jericho. And the city Jericho was a meaningful place for the Israelites because that was the first city that the Israelites actually attacked and then got the victory first time. So that was the first city they actually attacked and they got the victory for the first time as well. Today's chapter verse 27 tells us some amazing words. 27 says, "So the Lord was with Joshua, God was with Joshua, and his fame was in all the land." His fame was in all the land. Because God was with him, he got famous for his braveness and courage and his leadership. And then they were preparing for attacking the city Jericho. What did they do to get the victory? So, first of all, God commanded them to march around the city. March around the city. Before actually attacking the city, God commanded them to march around the city. God asked them to make a circle and march around the city. So the verses 3 says that more in detail. God says, "You shall march around the city, all the warriors circling the city once." Yes, you make a circle, and then all the warriors make a circle and then march around the city. That's what God asked them to do before actually going into city Jericho. And they did it not just one day. They did it for 6 days. 6 days. I thought about the situation. If I were there, I'm just marching around the city for 6 days. Maybe it could be scary because if they notice us marching around the city, they may come out of their city and then attack against us. But in the chapter 6, it never talk about the change during 6 days. It doesn't say like this. Okay, first day they march around the city for the first time. Second day, there was progress in some way. Third day, some people in the city of Jericho, they were scary. They were afraid of God. Fourth day, the wall of the city were collapsed. No. For 6 days, there was no change recorded in this book. Verse 14 says this. On the second day, they marched around the city once and then returned to the camp. They did this for 6 days. For 6 days, they marched around the city, but no change happened yet. But they just kept doing it because they believed in God. I think that's the faith. Even in this situation, coronavirus pandemic, every time when we listen to the news, there are more like scary news and then sad news, more than something hopeful. Yeah, of course, we see some people caring for each other, encouraging for each other in many ways. However, it's still a difficult situation. That's what we see. In this situation, can you still have hope and faith in God? I think that's what we need to think about as we experience the resurrection of Jesus. How can we live the resurrection in this situation? It's worth to think about it. And in this chapter 6, there is one person we need to remember. Verse 17 says this. The city and all that is in it shall be devoted to the Lord for destruction. Only Rahab the prostitute and all who are with her in her house shall live, because she hid the messengers we sent. Yes, the Israelites were attacking the city Jericho, and their attack, their fight was kind of successful. So they tried to remove all the people over there, except Rahab and her family. The Israelites remembered Rahab, who helped them when they first came to city Jericho to spy out. At the time, Rahab already knew that they were with God. God was with them. So because she believed in God, she was helping and cooperating with the Israelites spying out. So the Israelites remembered that. By reading this part about Rahab, I thought this way: those who act with faith, those who behave with faith, they are remembered. They are remembered by God. They are remembered by someone who have faith in God. When we act with faith, when we live with faith, we are remembered by God. So the verse 22 says like this: Joshua said to the two men who had spied out the land, Go into the prostitute's house and bring the woman out of it and all who belong to her, as you swore to her. Joshua called two men who went to spy out the city Jericho, and asked them, Go find Rahab and save them. That's what happened. That was the result for Rahab, as she acted with faith. Friends, when we live following the words of God, when we behave in the faith, when we put our trust in God, God remembers us. That's what Joshua experienced when he became a leader. That's what the Israelites experienced when they attacked the city Jericho and got the first victory over there. And that's what Rahab experienced as well. She might be scary when she was cooperating with the Israelites who spied out the Jericho city. However, she did it because she believed in God. Then what happened to her? What was the result? She and her families were saved by the Israelites. Friends, when we behave and act with faith, God remembers us. And God remembers us even today as we go through this pandemic situation with faith.